right. Well, Wigbert, I know it's early on top of early, but no time like the present. Should we kick this off, or what do you think?
That's up to you. I'm fine with anything.
Let me hit up Jank and see if I can get him in here.
Yeah. Well, that was fast.
Right.
Oh, he's already here.
Yeah, didn't have a whole lot going on.
Yeah, there's nothing going on, that's for sure. It's totally quiet.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Wigbert, you wanna introduce and kick us off?
Yeah, this is like the ninth, eighth, ninth, I don't know, whatever number we're on Q&A. First one in a while though. We've got about 11 questions that were sent in that we'll get through first, and after that, the floor will open up for anyone with any other questions. So yeah, go ahead and feel free to start. List of questions have been provided to the people who need them.
Yeah, I'm looking at the updated one you sent me earlier now.
You know what, Wigbert, I don't know if it makes sense, but do you want to read them out and just give us the prompt, and then we'll go from there?
I provided and sent it with one, so people can. I think he's has copies of them brought up, but I can read them out as well. No issue.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind terribly, because I can't defocus this tab.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. First ones are Wellington's questions. First question is, what is the new timeline for launch? Can it be disclosed? And if not, what's your hope for it to be?
Yeah, obviously it's dangerous to even speculate on the hope, right? Like, that would be madness to say that. No, it's a good question. I think, as everybody on this call knows, we're close, right? Part of the reason why we're doing this now is to make sure that that all the back-end changes that we made over the past couple months, hold up. And I see Elsia is here, and Elsia is already providing some great feedback. Thank you. So we have to work through that kind of stuff. And as soon as we're confident, we do the friendly number change, and then we're ready to go. So we're near, but I don't think we're exactly like prepared at this time to say such and such date. We do think it'll be this year.
Okay, more of a still though, when it's done sort of thing.
Yeah, I think as long as this has gone on, if there's reasonable feedback that we need to address before we launch, hey man, you guys have been patient. We might as well be patient too, right?
Mm-hmm. The second question is follow-up to the first. What is the next major step for VV besides obviously launching?
Oh, so you're talking about post-launch, enhancements?
Yeah, I presume it's about post-launch.
Okay.
Because otherwise, the answer would be the game.
Yeah. So I won't comment on the story and the metagame and that kind of stuff. I think Jank's got some stuff to add there. But from a general sort of game expansion point of view, we have some fun stuff brewing. We have some stuff with subs. We have some stuff with aircraft. We've got crafting 2.0. We've got a really cool kind of secret project, in the works. Pretty confident that those things are going to be spoiled in the sense that in a post-launch environment, we're gonna probably run a little bit of testing, and probably will be with this crew. But I don't think that we're at a place yet to say publicly this is what's going to happen, except to say that it's really neat. Jank, did you want to talk about metagame or anything like that?
That was literally the first thing that came to my mind, because we have, we're iterating mechanically on these things that you mentioned. I think the metagame and how that plays out is going to be the next big sea change in how people approach the content. And I don't recall who brought it up, but somebody brought up a very, very good point, which is that there needs to be a little more transparency about the mutually exclusive war plans, Because flavorful as the titles are, they're not going to be immediately. The import thereof is not going to be immediately obvious unless we have some kind of interface solution for that. But yeah, like a tooltip of like 150 characters or so. Like we can have some kind of tweet-sized message to be sure, like join this alliance, don't join this alliance, render aid here, don't render aid there, that sort of thing.
Yeah. In the interim on that one specifically, I think we are going to have to change the names because we were taking a look at the tooltip, and that might be post-launch. So either we'd have to correct the plan names so that they're intelligible or suggested to people, or maybe we toss it out on the forum, right? Give a description on the forum, and we do that for a couple of months until we load it in game. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, that was my point in its entirety, really. Seeing how the metagame unfolds, I think, from my perspective anyway, from the perspective of what I'm going to be involved with directly, that's going to be the really big sea change that I'm looking forward to. Sea change.
Nice one.
No, it wasn't.
The third question from LinkedIn is how confident is the team in a good reception? How confident is the team in a good reception once VB goes live, i.e. activating the sleeper agents to promote the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the question, right? How widely can we spread the news? And certainly, we're going to be asking each and every one of you guys to talk a little bit about us with anybody you can. We've got our promotion materials, kind of underway, and you'll see those campaigns percolating through probably right around the same time that we announce the actual official date. But as to our confidence, yeah, we're pretty confident. I think the positive reactions that most of the Kickstarter fans gave, I think really sort of confirmed that, hey, you know what? There is an appetite for what we're getting up to, for the Bells, for their characters, the personality, the history, the technology, the simulation aspects. Yeah, we're not overly concerned, let us say.
Okay. Fourth question is, has there been any production on 1940 VB so far?
Yes. Yes, and it's to the extent that either of us can discuss it, I'm very, very, very excited to get a lot of it in front of y'all.
Yeah, I think routinely I say, oh my God, like constantly as we see these new things pop up. It's frankly amazing. We're almost through 1940 in terms of content. So yeah, I'd say a lot of work has been done there.
Okay.
It is ongoing,
Fifth question is, if VB could cross over with any other game or media, regardless of ridiculousness, what would it be?
Yeah, so I actually talked to Wellington about this one like earlier in the day. Because this one was asked, I think, like last year, I think somebody asked the
Probably,
same.
I think it's been asked a few times, I think.
Yeah, and the answer has to be the same. Obviously, duh, can't say anything there. But the ultimate prize would be, I mean, come on, this game is a love letter to Cancol, so QnA is what we'd want to collab with.
Would be nice. I don't think that one's in the cards, but.
Hey, you never know.
Never say never.
Yeah, one thing for certain is he would not be able to say that any of our Bells are pop singers, so there's still a chance.
Still a chance. All right, question number 6 is, what are the biggest concerns for the team? Oh, or sorry, did you have something to say?
If I might, because I've thought about that crossover thing too. And in terms of, I wasn't so much thinking in terms of other Ship Girl games, certainly like collabs and such, but like lore wise, I've if anybody here has read SM Sterling, I want to see him right in this world. He does such deep dives into histories and cultures around the world, and his banter is like second to none between characters. it's very, there's a whole lot of depth and wit that I think would make him a very, very good fit for his style, a very, very good fit for Bell stories, to be sure.
So if you know him, send him to us.
He comes to conventions here in town every so often. Yeah, very, very funny.
You're on point for that.
He's elusive.
All right. The sixth question is, what are the biggest concerns for the team in regards to VB currently, conflict in Ukraine notwithstanding?
I mean, I don't think you can not withstand that. Since Wednesday, we've lost contact with one of our folks in Russia. So the situation is definitely always fluid for us as far as that goes. We're trying to stand by our team members, but nothing really comes to mind except that when we talk about, problems and concerns that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than that, there hasn't been really anything, nothing super concerning or world-shattering concerning the mechanics of the game itself. There's certainly stuff we're figuring out under the hood as we tweak things here and there, but it is going on.
It's nice to know nothing's exploded yet.
Yet.
Seventh question is, what determines how many Vestures a Bell gets to rescue them in relation to the Spice-Holstein discussion that occurred, I think, 2 or 3 days ago?
Yeah, I think all the factors, or most of the factors, were brought out in that. It's a function of hull points, it's a function of armor, a function of speed, it's a function of the equipment that they carry. So if you think about Schleswig-Holstein and her general sort of kit out, she's not going to be as amazing as maybe other more modern battleships, but she's certainly holding a line with her armored sides and even with her older but still powerful armament. So basically everything goes in and is treated equally in terms of how it's weighted. That's really just the way that it's done. Yeah, it is a lot of Vesters, but she's a battleship. You get what you pay for.
All right. Eighth question is, will Bells rescued in later years, Manchester in 1942, for example, get more standard gear for the time, or will it remain whatever year they came out in?
Yeah, that is a super cool question. So it would be awesome if, as the years go by, the Bells dropped the gear that they historically had at that particular time. But as everybody here knows, or anybody who's studied the history of these ships and their modernizations know, even for a relatively small number like 150 Bells, that is quite a chore, right? To figure out and then build a separate ID for, and then you'd want to do something with the art, right, and so on and so forth. So I don't think we've completed the thought, but let's just say that it's not too likely that you'd see versions that are going to be iterative through the years. Maybe if there's a major refit that takes place, you might see someone get updated, but otherwise you'll probably have to do the refitting yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think the question would be most pertinent as regards event bells, right? Seeding them into drops here and there as long after their initial event. As we discussed on the Kickstarter. Certainly there'd be that consideration to take into account, but it's a conversation for another day.
Okay. Next set of question is from FTN. I assume that we'll be able to eventually increase fleet cap past 150 as more bells get added, seeing that right now there are 146 available, including all Kickstarter bells, but is there any possibility of increasing inventory cap past 1050?
Yeah, sure. As with all things, it comes at the cost on the server, right, for the space and the access time and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's nothing prohibiting us from, making that 10,000, right? If the appetite is there, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I can personally say that in the before the wipe, I was having inventory issues, but that just I
Okay.
had a lot of shit. So
Well, I mean, those vestors start to stack up if you're not
do.
like, regularly promoting. So yeah, that makes sense.
They do, and promotion
And it is
was broken for a bit. So
yeah, and it is quite a long war, certainly. Yeah, and as regards promotion and vestures and finding the vestures that one needs for promotion, well, we're working on that front.
then we're at LCS questions. First one is, how would you describe the game? A sandbox naval simulation, quotation marks, a gacha waifu collecting game. They're asking because other mobile gacha and idle games have more hand-holding tutorials compared to VictoryBelles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know ultimately what the consensus in the community will form, but I think we've always thought of this as a waifu collection game. Definitely our favorite part of the day is anytime a new belle comes in, right? And, checking her out and seeing what she looks like and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think at least for me personally, that's the biggest aspect. All those other things are also true. But, would I come to VictoryBelles to do naval simulation? I mean, sure, but I'm really coming for the bells, I would think.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest draw, one would assume.
I tend to describe it as a naval strategy game, just because that's mechanically you have to engage with that half of it certainly to get to the story and the waifu collection. But then again, my circles care a lot about the waifu collection and the naval strategy, so I tend to describe the former first and then get into the latter.
Okay. And the LCS final question was, what about power creep? Why would a player bother to level up a new ship if it isn't as strong as an old one's? Because historically, are new ships always better than old ones? And if new ships are always better, would there be power creeping, and to which extent? Azure Lane, like where old research ships are good, but not as good as the new ones, or Fire Emblem Heroes, where characters released 2 months ago and earlier are as good as trash.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious to say that there will be power creep. That's the nature of the technology component of the real war. I don't think there's any doubt that if you take an Iowa and you place her next to Arizona, right, you're not going to have necessarily the same results, and that's not just due to the equipment, right, that they carry either. I also think that it's fair to say that this being a game about the collection of waifus, and with the amount of attention that we're lavishing on the individual bells, like, indiscriminate of, are they a battleship or are they, I don't know, but a merchant cruiser. I think it's fair to say that there will be systems in place so that you can always make your favored companion or companions be sort of top of the line. So if you just love Verdun to death and you never want to lose her and are afraid of her obsolescence, then there are going to be systems by which you can bring her into line and keep her modernized, within some logical parameters.
No battleship guns, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe.
You could probably squeeze a couple on there, and certainly it was done for. I can't remember her name. Where the Soviets put a recoilless rifle right on.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So,
yeah.
So it's definitely possible. But no, that does not suggest, however, that that's going to be simple to do. In other words, you would have to make a commitment to keep her in line. It's not going to be efficient, and it's not going to be easy for you to take, someone like Voykov, right? A pre-World War I, destroyer, and turn her into a top of the line World War II spec, destroyer by the end of this. But if you want to have that level of commitment to your waifu, then I think that's sort of what this game is all about.
Mhm. Okay, well, that was the that's all the questions that were given. Elsie had a follow up there in the chat about their first question.
Uh,
Can you see those as well, Diff, or do I need to read those?
you know what? I don't see it. I just popped open chat and it's sort of blank.
I'm looking at the chat here now. Incinda's, and I'm just going down the line. Incinda's got a comment here. Story upgrade quest. Can we unpack that a little bit?
That's for I believe that was in relation to Bell starting with more advanced equipment, or in a way like that as time goes on.
Oh yeah, I mean, Incinda, absolutely. Like the sky's the limit as far as that kind of stuff goes. Like there's all kinds of like totally cool ways for us to treat history and historical refits and historical modernizations and so on and so forth. That's purely a function of time and interest, right? So if folks are super into it and you know they're clamoring and it makes a lot of sense, then devoting writing time to that is what we need to do. Then again, if you know if it doesn't look like it's trending in that direction, then obviously we're going to put that more on whatever you want to do with the refit.
Yeah, we've tended to, just in terms of story, we've tended to shy away from commenting on specific equipment for Bells, with the possible exception of Boyki. But there's definitely room to explore integrating that gameplay and story, those gameplay and story elements somewhat.
You know, Superlace, handholding is good if you're talking about your waifu. Otherwise, you know, it could be good or bad depending on your need.
Fair answer.
Elsia, what I described as a sandbox. Well, you know, VictoryBelles in this particular case is hearkening back to, you know, some sort of really interesting experiments in the early days of RPGs, not video game, but tabletop or card based, where they influenced future releases based on player strategies, conditions, the impacts of major events, that kind of thing. And in that regard, I couldn't really say it's a sandbox because there are too many people in your sandbox, such that any individual is likely routinely to make a big difference on the outcomes. You know that I won't rule that out, but it's going to be more along, you know, sort of what is the general direction that the player base is going. Whereas in a true sandbox, right, you know, it's sort of open and accessible, and you can kind of see what's what, and you go after it. I'd say this is more like you know, based on the patterns, based on the direction, based on how the players are playing and pushing, where in the world they're fighting, what missions they're tackling, et cetera, that informs sort of the branching paths that the story will take. And you know, the gang behind the scenes has actually spent a pretty considerable amount of time shaping those branches, and there's some pretty fun you know, alternate possibilities. Now, I don't know if anybody's going to play that way, right? But there are some pretty fun alternate possibilities, and I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, the conversation of the team and whatnot. Not the team, the players, about what the choices do and which ones they want to select as a nation, and trying to, you know, kind of organize themselves around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sky's really the limit in terms of history. How goes the VA situation? How likely would it be that all bells will be voiced when the game launches? Yeah, Yami correctly says that, yeah, it's slim for all scenario given Russia's situation. Russia's interesting. Like, as I've been learning, apparently it's really hard to find, like higher voiced, like kind of perky sort of VAs. from that region. For one or another Russian belle, nature of the beast. I'm not sure why that's the case.
Well, it's not even just Russia, per se. So here's the problem that we're wrestling with, and Elsia, I think, knows what we're talking about because has been very vocal about how some of the French bells sound. We're not native speakers. Right, like we don't speak Russian, right? Yes, a good portion of our team does, but they're also not casting directors at the same time, right? And their vision of correctness and what it should sound like and so on and so forth, right? That's a question mark. So if you can imagine, not only do you have to find VAs that can do game work, and game work is unusual, right? It's not professional VA like you would do for a business, right? It's more like acting. Not only do you have to find the right, voice actor, but then she's got to satisfy both, what it sounds like to an English-speaking person, which most of us are going to be, and then what it sounds like, in the native language, so that we can all have a fun, kind of best of all worlds experience. I do think that the Japanese, seiyus have really just, knocked it out of the park in that regard. But we found it more difficult with the foreign language bells, for sure.
But that being said, like we also have found some incredible gems as we've gone on. So it's exciting work, no matter how you slice it. Tactics wise, Polo will remain OP. Newbie may have something to say about that. Is there a possibility for more ship types as the years progress, e.g., frigates, amphibious transports, etc.? Strong one.
Yeah. So F-teen, you've already seen that in the game we've got, Queen Mary, who's really a troop ship, right? She's not a merchant cruiser at all, right? She's a troop ship. And other support types like Chiyoda, which you can use as a scout, but really her function is to create a seaplane base, right? That's what these tenders are supposed to do. If you notice on the fleet creation screen, there's an 8th slot, which is empty. There's a reason for the existence of that 8th slot, and as you go along, you'll see how it will be used. And Superlace, you have it exactly, L5R. Each one of their expansion sets was determined based on the results of the many tournaments that came before, plus some role-playing stuff that they ran. And that's definitely a model that we're looking at for growing what the history will be in our alternate World War II. Elves, I'm sorry.
I'd like to bring up a discussion that we had earlier in the beta diff multiple times, as I recall, about, and it's come up a few times in the beta chat now more recently, about the cost of romance, friendship, prestige, all of that going down.
Sure.
And would that be better for its own sort of semi Q&A session thing?
No. I mean, that's a legit question, right? We'll just toss it out right here, right? I don't think that the answer or the response, sort of the thinking that we've done around it really has changed that much. So if you take a look at, other games of the ilk, you have the ability to ring a bell, right?
Yeah.
And over there, you buy it, you stick it on, maybe you get yourself a little voice line and a picture, and that's, costume too, could be, and then you get the statistical, sort of the mechanical benefits. We flirted with that same approach. I mean, that's certainly uncontroversial. But given the storylines and given how in depth we are with the characters and personalities and so on and so forth, we felt that our version of the ring would be this choice: friendship or romance, right? Where do you want to take this with your bell, and then ultimately what will that culminate into? So yeah, I see where people are coming from, like in terms of, well, maybe friendship is the main line, and that's, just that just goes on and it's free and so on and so forth, and then you pay to unlock romance and so on and so forth. And I get it. That totally, that totally makes sense. But I think what we're coming from is that, if you don't want to invest into the bell for the mechanical ring effects, no problem. You got your foundation, right, that you can run through. But otherwise, it really is, the equivalent of the ring. And you can you can put on a friendship ring, or you can put on a romance ring, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, friendship bracelet or wedding ring.
Yeah, friendship bracelet. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I just recall we discussed it quite a bit early on about its cost and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's worth going over it again. I mean, obviously we'll continue monitoring it and whatnot, but that's more or less how we're viewing it, right? It's the equivalent of a ring.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think as you explained to me at the time, we don't have the full prestige prices yet.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong. I don't know about the current bill, what they opened up, but if you're still dealing with if it's the 199 version, right, that's obviously your worst conversion, right? Like, as with any game, right? Like the 199 option, that's your worst conversion. Okay, Els, let's see. You said daily login reward win. Yeah, the win part, that's what I don't know. It almost certainly after launch. We are going to have it. We've prepared for it. We've set up, some idea of the rewards and how we want to approach it, and we've visualized it to one degree or another. But will we implement before launch? That doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Oh, sorry, man.
Very sad.
It's like 4 sads.
Very, very sad.
But on the other hand, you will get it. That is guaranteed.
That's at least nice. Login rewards are very nice.
Now is good, but there's also a lot of stuff going on. So
I'm interested in this. A lot of stuff going on. No longer in as much of the loop as I used to be.
There's a multiplicity of variables, to be sure,
All right, it looks like we got Calc. Calc's got a question. I see her typing there.
I'm sure Yami has a question as well. Definitely.
Organa versions with pictures like the one of Sheffield Yami just sent. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think we'll be mum on that. If you're at a tier with the art book, though, you'll be excited.
Romance Morgana when? We thought about it.
Yeah, but no comment.
Mm-hmm.
Not until, what is it, Cloden Joy's favorite Morgana, Lust? Yeah.
Well, but he also said that that's pretty much covered by Sin. I would tend to agree.
We can get real metaphysical and philosophical here. That's actually a really interesting question, because one could argue there are many things that are variants of sin, but perhaps sin is a quality all into itself. But nonetheless.
Well, you know what somebody's referring to when they say, "Oh, you're living in sin,"
Well, yeah, that's true. You can't deny that. Yeah, Super Lace. In the Kickstarter, there was a tier that came with an art book. Now, when that goes to the printer, and there's a bunch of questions about who's going to print that, given the situation, tariffs of China and such like. But when that goes to the printer, we are going to do like an overage. I don't know how many extra art books we're going to print, but whatever that overage is, so that we can make sure that we get enough, quote unquote, perfect ones to send to those that ordered in the Kickstarter. So the remainder, we will be selling. I imagine we'd offer it, here to you guys first. But we'll be selling those, but it's not going to be a huge amount of them, right? It's just going to be whatever happens to be left over. Frozen Scarecrow, yes, of course. I can't tell you anything about those, but be prepared.
It is a long war.
Same deal about the plushies, and Cinda. There will be a couple of extra. We'll do an overage on the plushies. I don't know how many more are going to be created outside of the one specifically for the Kickstarter backers, but there will be a couple of those. Just a handful. I would expect of those. Yeah, sorry, Incinda. It's a heavily manual process on this side, but keep an eye out. What we might do for you guys is before we place the order, we might open up, hey, how many people want to buy the art book, and then just sort of add that on to the order. I don't know if we're going to do that as like a poll situation or if we take the order because, right, you get various different scales of cost, right? Like a lot of the companies make you buy it in fixed quantities, right? Yeah, if there's sufficient interest, we might do that as well. Calc, it is only 1939, yes. Frozen Scarecrow, is that pulled down off the PayPal side? If it's still open, you could probably just pop over there and pick it up. I think that's still open on PayPal. If it's not, then when we go to press on that one, I'll just post here what kind of overages we see.
What's about the expectation on when that's going to be shipped, by the way? The Influence of Sea Power?
It'll be shipped, I think, with all the physical goods. I mean, the only one the only timing concern is really more around when do we place the order, then how long does it take to ship, right? To us or to whatever company is going to be shipping it out to you. And since these are different orders, I would expect a different delivery time for the plushies, say, versus the books. But there's been a lot of change from the original agreements that we had in place for the production of these, like 6 years ago, right? The modern sort of environment is a little bit different. So I think post-launch, we'll have a pretty clear idea about when and how these are going to ship and then from what company. Wellington, that is like a brilliant idea. I have absolutely no idea about Marissa's willingness to do Mahan for God knows how many hundreds of pages, right? But
for reference, I've been looking at I've been crunching the numbers on this. The 30 Years War audiobook is 536 pages, and that's just shy of 20 hours. Influence of Sea Power is another 100 pages or so, so you'd be looking at almost a full day of Mahan. So make of that what you will.
I mean, but that would be that would be superhuman recording conditions, right? So
yes.
well, I think it's an awesome idea, Willie. But Marissa would have to ask for that, right? Like, we're not even gonna like suggest it to her, right? Like, 'cause that's madness. Scarecrow, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there would be additional merch. I mean, at the very least, there'd be an art book for 40, right? So. I would expect that to continue to sort of expand. Super Lace, I don't know the answer to that question. Sadly I don't work on the voice side of things. Maybe settings could be. Yeah, Els, do me a favor and just next time you're in the game, just submit that as a feature if you would. Okay, nice.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, I haven't seen it, but that doesn't surprise me, right? Like, it tends to get filtered before it gets to me. All right, I see F typing. Why recruit?
Are you, let's unpack that a little bit. Are you referring to recruit being droppable now in the campaigns?
No, I did notice that. Forgot to bug report it if it was one.
No, we you want to get some extra recruit stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise the only way to get her Vesters previously would have been Rosing, and we all know the time and investment that involves.
True. I haven't actually used it in the new update, so.
If Els, your question is why did we put recruit in the game, then Scarecrow's answer is in fact correct. Oh, what purpose does she serve story-wise? Well, you'll find that out.
I'm sure Sarkash Cat would have about a 5-hour dissertation on why he believes that.
I don't think we have a timeline. It's a very popular ask, as you know. It's definitely something that we're likely to do. It's not considered to be a very high priority, but we will. I would think we will get to it. Sorry, Elsa. Yeah, I mean, you expect that.
Mm-hmm.
Along with subtitles, has the team discussed any more about a sort of thing where you can view past stories again, or is that still?
No, yeah. We were actually talking about that yesterday. So I think you guys are probably aware, like the whole reason why you have to pay for a reset is because if you just go back in time, then you could farm stories for rather interesting drops, right? Which is, good in one respect, but in other
Not the intent.
Right, not so awesome, right? We want that to be special and unique and so on and so forth. There's a number of different methods that could be handled, differently. Like, for example, we could allow you to go back in time, but now you can't get any drops and so on and so forth. So we're definitely thinking about it. We understand its utility. We understand why people want it. It's the same for us, right? Anytime you're in a story-based game, you want to reread a cool piece of the story, right? Like you expect to have that option. So we'll do something, I imagine. And at the very least, in the interim, if you can't get it streamed or it's not on Wiki, you do have an option to go back and revisit.
It certainly wasn't an issue for me to just replay once during the beta, but I had way more prestige than I would ever need to spend, so.
Yeah.
Definitely, I can imagine live game. I don't want to spend prestige on doing that.
I think you should, Wigbert, but sure, whatever.
I see how it is. Okay.
Will there be a logbook feature while reading a story? That's scrolling back through, right? As there would be in other visual novels.
Yeah, like a base RenP feature. Yeah, we've definitely talked about it, Els. Definitely not before launch, but it's something that's known to us for sure. But so instead of this is a good enough segue, right? Let's talk about the resource accrual and so on and so forth. So, leaving aside the Kickstarter backers, because I do think that Els, I think it was you that was suggesting, like, that you maybe give some extra resources to the Kickstarter backers, which I think is a really super good idea. And necessary, right? Because they are getting heavier bells at the start than recruit and destroyers. But the accrual setup, the foundational thinking there, because I went back and I reviewed what the team had done. It's on the basis that you're going to be trying to grind as I don't know if I would say efficiently, but from a resource perspective, you're trying to be as close to not having downtime as possible in a repair situation. So in that regard, they thought about it as a normal mode grind. So when Superlace or Wigbert are doing their thing, they're probably over leveling, or I assume those guys are over leveling. Therefore, they're not getting hit as much.
You would assume correctly.
Yeah, right. And as a consequence, right, you just don't need the steel or the personnel. You're going to be using those resources maybe for research, R&D, or for the occasional sort of repair. But for players that want to get after hard mode, right, because they want the drops out of hard mode, or because they want the XP boost, as you said, Incinda, that wasn't a part of the accrual rate design, and we're going to have to think a little bit about that. Now, the answer may well be we want to support normal mode, so that hard mode, that attack on hard mode is done thoughtfully and carefully and with the most excitement in terms of what you get and that kind of thing. But then again, we might go the other way, right, and make the resources more abundant so that you can do hard mode more frequently. But one of the things definitely that we see happening is that maybe we do need to have hard mode be unlocked as you guys progress down the HQ level track. So, well, Wellington, we're looking for your expert YouTube videos on that, right? Yeah, so I don't know, like level 15, level 25, somewhere there where a player gets enough sort of experience and sort of fun under their belt, and then if they want to get in there and get a challenge, right, then they have that ability. So we're kicking around that idea, but we definitely saw that happening in the chat, and it certainly raised some interesting questions on this end.
I can say, I don't think it took me an hour to get to HQ level 5 just doing HQ 1s.
Yeah, at the low levels.
But, I also kind of zone out and don't pay attention, so it could have very well taken me an hour.
Yeah, I think at the low levels, I mean, you are missing that HM kind of bonus, that's for sure. But I think at least for me, I was able to breeze through pretty quickly by sort of diligently like running whatever sortie I was grinding at that time. But obviously, it is faster with HM. Although it does raise the question whether or not it actually is, if you have to spend time in repair, right? You got a 2-minute repair, well that's already a campaign, right?
This could also just be my Kantai collection experience making me see 3 hours as non-consequential again.
Yeah, that's one problem with us Kankure veterans, right? Like, we're kind of like, yeah, we're used to it.
3 hours, okay. And I'll spend another 3. But yeah, I can't speak any further on time personally, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't have a leg to just stand on with time spent farming, given my farming experience in the last beta.
Oh yeah, having any like top tier cruiser in hard mode is gonna render that content at like a level 5 scenario, level 1 scenario quite easy. Okay. All right. Looks like have we got the questions, Wigbert? Looks like we got through them,
huh? Frozen's typing something out.
Oh, okay.
But we've gone through all the questions that were sent in to me, at least.
Let's see what Frozen's got there. Oh my God!
So many things.
Yeah,
I was actually going to ask that as well.
I mean, what a leading question. Yes, there's like a metric ton of things that we want to tell you about.
Mm-hmm.
That we are allowed to tell you about is something different than that. Yeah, so I think the quick answer, Frozen Scarecrow, is in the time frames that we're talking about. So let's say till the end of 39, I don't think you're going to see any type of dual stories. But what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at the player base and what bells they have. And that's really going to inform us as to which dual stories or trio stories or et cetera, we want to release first. Producing the content, that's not a huge issue, but we want to make sure that folks are able to play it and write and have some fun in it.
Yeah, there are certainly plenty of proofs of concept. It's just a matter of implementation.
I'm going to have to lobby hard for Mike Gavoris as our duo story. Okay, cool. Got it.
I mean, which would be super cool, right? But I mean,
all fantastic.
Right? Old Dames Drinking Club, right? Like, I mean, absolutely. You want to have this kind of like theme go on. I'd love for them to comment on the current state of the war. I mean, how cool would that be? But of course, you'd have to own all those bells. And so that's where the question marks come into play.
One of our writers pitched me an idea for, wouldn't Boyke and Lexington be a fantastically chaotic duo? And I hadn't thought of it, but my answer is yes.
See, Els, you presuppose that Yami is not listening in, and that is a bad assumption.
Access stylized common turn, etc. Factions matter for those. Well, it's about world unity, right? I don't think you'd be gated by one faction or another. However, these stories ended up being implemented, because we want everybody to see this.
Yeah, I mean, the logical answer is, of course, it could be, but what really it depends on is what are the players actually doing? Who are they collecting? How's the metagame going? Is the world becoming more fractured or less fractured? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my God, and Cinda, obviously, Achilles in Paris. I never even thought of that. How amazing! Yes,
perhaps, not as incongruous as it might initially seem. Achilles does love her some food.
Who doesn't love food?
Poland Ashigara, I like it.
Okay, I did message Yami, but I'm sorry, Els. The answer is negatory.
Damn. There's nothing that you want, but that you are capable of telling us.
Well, there's plenty of things that we're capable of telling you. Nothing that we can tell you, that we are strictly ordered not to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, here comes Yami with some fun stuff, so at least you get this.
Mm-hmm. I do. Man, this is getting into voice lines territory. The Gnevnis, talk about each other extensively in their well, not extensively, but at some length or another. I don't know if I could share my favorite Gnevni voice line.
What I really need is someone who is a Russian speaker to tell Joss or Jank, excuse me, how to actually say, Nevny, because I don't think it's Gnevny.
There's no hard G.
I don't think so, but I'm not a native speaker. I don't know. All right, so I think we can wrap it up here. Unless anything else pours in, this is a good time because we got a hard stop here in about maybe 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. No, man. You know what, Super Lace? Let me say this. So Wigbert earlier was asking the question, how confident are you guys that this is, going to reach the right people and so on and so forth? And oh my God, I'm like, dude. That our fans are the best. The fact that there's been no change. We've not updated the game at all for you guys with any new content or really any code or changes or bug fixes since the beginning of the war. And yet people were logging in every day and running it and doing their stuff. And you guys are testing and really getting us really solid information. I mean, I apologize, thanks for the hard work, but I mean, you guys are the ones who are like, hey man, we're here. We're helping you guys out, and our fans are the best. What can I tell you?
Scarecrow, I believe QnA now does have a hard G, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I took German.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to ask Corky on that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calc, I mean, the team is doing about as well as could be expected. I think I mentioned that one of the gang in Russia, we just simply have lost contact with them since Wednesday, and we don't have any idea where they are or what's happening. Right around the time that they announced the draft. So we're hoping it's not that. We're hoping it's just something else, but we just frankly don't have any information. Of course, as you guys know, there's been a reversal of fortune in Ukraine. The folks in Kiev are doing just fine, right at the present moment. One of the team members is still under arms. He had been a reservist before, and was called up. And as far as we know, he's doing garrison duty, so he's not on the front line. But I mean, it's not a great situation. But we just take it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of worse alternatives.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Actually, interestingly, a former team member had been in Mariupol. Not fighting, just a civilian, and had been removed from the city when the Russians took over. And he subsequently got across the border and has now made it to sort of a neutral country. And we heard from him, but yeah, I mean there are plenty of worse fates, that's for sure. Will remaining neutral be detrimental? Well, I mean, I guess that sort of depends on how you think about what goals you want for the nation, for the world, for the war at large. I mean, maybe you think neutrality is a good thing, right? And you want to remain neutral. So, I think that just depends more on the individual player and then the community of players.
It's I think we've all kind of hazarded to guess in one way or another about the fate of the League of Nations, for example. Like, I can definitely see that playing out as some kind of like prisoner's dilemma. There could be benefits to going it alone. There could be benefits for trying to make it work. Who knows?
I think the real fun of this is going to be that fog of war. So as you guys make choices and we take a look at what the data is telling us, you guys will see how the state of the world evolves.
Which again, tooltips will tooltips will influence it one way or another. And yeah, if people go with the more historical options, or people just try out something like totally madcap, or one country screws over another country royally, like those will be spicy moments to which I very much look forward.
Calc, I have no idea what you mean about Błyskawica. Who knows? What is that? Is that some sort of like restaurant?
That's not a real word.
Yeah, it's not a real word. It's a collection of consonants, which means it must be Polish.
Is that even a letter there?
I don't think so. It's not real.
All right, you guys. We'll wrap up here, but thanks once again. You guys rock.
Yeah. I figure we might have one more of these things around when the game launches. Maybe we can make it something big if you're up for that, Diff.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Jank, does that make sense to you? That sounds pretty cool to me.
That sounds brilliant.
I figure probably not much more questions we really need to be asking, hopefully. Though, of course, as circumstances changes, maybe we'll have another one of these, who knows.
Yes, we're firmly in the area of, well, we can't tell you that. Yeah. All right, you guys. Take care. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Have a wonderful day.
You're coming.